Hi folks, John Dunn here. I'm up at Immortals Inc., RPG freelancer, publisher behind Melior Via, and I'm here with Mikey.
What's up, John?
Doing good. How about you, man?
Just living the dream. I'm thinking we're about to go on a Hollow Earth expedition of some sort.
Well, we are going to involve Hollow Earth expeditions, but before we dive into it too far, let me ask you ever hear of John Carter?
Yeah, wait, is that a movie?
Well, first, it's a whole series of novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Yeah, not familiar with the novels.
So, do you know who Edgar Rice Burroughs is?
I wish.
Okay. He was a novelist in the 19th century, primarily, and he wrote, his best-known character is Tarzan.
Oh, okay. There we go.
But he also wrote about John Carter and a number of other characters. So John Carter was basically a soldier in the Confederacy who, after they lost, moved out to the West and kind of passed out in a mountain when he was being chased by Native Americans and badly wounded, and he woke up on the red planet Mars. Not really solid explanation for how he got there, but Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote that novel and wrote a whole series about John Carter, and in those novels, they're kind of the definitive original early novels about Sword and Planet as a type of swashbuckling pulp adventure. So the book we're going to talk about today, Revelations of Mars for Hollow Earth Expedition, is a source book that completely changes the setting. So you're no longer exploring within the confines of the Hollow Earth. Instead, the campaign shifts focus and it goes to Mars.
Do you get to see John Carter there?
Well, you could play a very John Carter-like character.
Is that the dude behind you?
Probably not. That guy's looking a little more primitive.
He's got the Dwayne Johnson tattoo.
He definitely has the Dwayne Johnson look about it. No question about it. That guy's a little more barbaric than John Carter really was, but he's definitely an archetypical Sword and Planet kind of character. That same kind of barbarian, same kind of Conan feel. When you're doing Sword and Planet, a lot of times there can be some kind of mysticism there, but you do have interplanetary travel. You don't necessarily have a whole lot of justification for how that travel happened. Like I said, John Carter just kind of went to sleep and woke up there. And then you've got all kinds of alien races. And Mars in this source book is just full of a variety of different alien races and cultures. And also a completely inexplicable number of humans. Now, I shouldn't say inexplicable completely because the setting material does provide an explanation for why they're there, but it's not immediately obvious to either the humans that are there or the humans that have just arrived there from Earth. It is a completely different change in genre getting into the Sword and Planet planetary romance, and it's gonna completely change the feel of your Hollow Earth Expedition game. So if your characters were burrowing to the center of the Earth and exploring lost civilizations, going to Mars is going to be very different. You might not necessarily even take those same characters. There are some justifications you can get into to do that, but this is more a book about starting a fresh campaign using that same rule set on a completely different world.
So I'm thinking that it takes place around the same time period as the normal Hollow Earth expedition?
Yeah, pretty much. You could go back further. Like I said, Edgar Rice Burroughs did his writing late 1800s, rather. So it'd be really easy to do things starting in that time frame, but you certainly could move that clock forward to get into stuff in the 20s, 30s, probably even pushing World War II era.
Yeah, so we could say that John Carter was the first man on Mars, technically.
Well, yes, absolutely. Well,
or this barbaric man.
But that's the thing. When he got there, there were already plenty of other humans there.
There's something they're not telling us.
Exactly. And that's part of the mystery behind the setting as your characters are exploring it, finding out how all of these other humans got there and what's going on. And, did humans come to Earth from Mars, or did humans come from some other place to both Earth and Mars? Those are kind of open questions that your characters might be looking for the answers to as they're exploring this. This book does go hand in hand with Hollow Earth Expedition for character creation, but it introduces a lot of new options for your characters. So you've got 8 different kinds of Martians that you can use. You've got 6 different kinds of robots you can use, and a whole lot of different angles for creating human characters. Like I said, there are lots of humans already on Mars, and the people that are there come from a variety of different backgrounds, many of which are extremely different from backgrounds that you'd find on Earth in the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
In the original, was there an option to have different characters other than humans?
Not really, no.
So how does that work? If, like, you know, I want to play this game, but I want to use, like, you know, when you choose a new player character, does that mean you really have to go to a Martian if, you know, you wanted to do that and you were a human previously?
So when you're playing a new character, there doesn't necessarily have to be any connection between past characters unless you specifically want them to be. And when I say a new campaign, that could mean this is a completely different story that doesn't have any connection to what your characters had done previously. So, you know, the Hollow Earth expedition might be set in ostensibly the 1920s, 1930s. Your trip to Mars might have happened in the 1890s, right?
Oh, okay.
And there might be absolutely no connection between those characters except that you're using the same rules, just like two different Dungeons and Dragons campaigns wouldn't necessarily have any explicit connection.
Okay, but you could still use the same character per se, you know?
If your game master was amenable to it and wanted to take a character from one campaign to another, you absolutely can. There's nothing stopping you. It's just explicitly, you've got a lot more options here that work in Mars that wouldn't work as well within the Hollow Earth campaign setting.
Would you personally switch over to a different character, or would you keep your old one?
Generally speaking, I want a different character.
If the game master lets you, sorry.
Generally speaking, I want a different character for every campaign as a player, but I find myself behind the screen a lot more often than I'm playing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm usually the one who's telling the players.
Man, I gotta take over for you one day. Let you get a break. How about that?
We'll have to talk that up, Mikey. One big thing this introduces that isn't in regular Hollow Earth is psychic powers.
Whoa.
Yeah, so characters can pick up a lot of interesting ability that way. There's a whole lot of equipment that's specific to Mars, so you've got technology, but then you also have vehicles, and that includes skyships that can float in the Martian skies, and you've got some rules for combat between vehicles.
I'd be so scared of, like, a big old ship just hovering above me. It reminds me of, like, Thanos' ship. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Well, you're flying across those red Martian deserts, too, so a whole different landscape beneath you.
Yeah, I feel like it's just one weather setting, really, just straight, you know. It looks like a desert, really, like you said.
That's pretty much it. But remember, this is more of a fantastic Mars than anything the rovers are picking up.
Oh, yeah.
So
the rovers don't even know what they're looking at. Come on. It's probably just, like, CGI and stuff.
Then you've also got the canals of Mars, right? Very famous canals. And surely, if you've got canals, they have to be filled with water.
Are there, like, volcanoes and stuff?
Well, I mean, in the real world, no. But in the adventures of...
Yeah,
in the world of planetary romance, you gotta have a volcano, right?
Absolutely.
Another thing that this talks about, there's a lot of places, but the big connection, the big secret history behind things, spoilers, there's Atlantean magic. And that provides ties between Earth's history, between the Hollow Earth, and between Mars proper.
What is Atlantean magic? What does that mean?
So, are you familiar with the stories of Atlantis, the lost continent?
Yeah.
Basically, a lot of the stories of Atlantis talk about that being an incredibly advanced civilization that had access to both advanced technology and advanced magic, or possibly just a really advanced understanding of how the universe operates.
Oh, so that makes it a lot more interesting.
And so what this game setting does is it talks about some of those magics and uses that to provide a connection between Earth and Mars, and between the Hollow Earth and Mars proper.
What's your favorite thing about this game?
I really like the fact that they took that Hollow Earth setting and the engine that they had well established and then figured out a way to play a very different style of campaign with it, getting into the whole planetary romance style. It's not something that has seen a ton of use in other role-playing games. I mean, some people would argue Star Wars falls into that. I'm kind of the opinion that that's pretty different. And other than that, though, this is really the most definitive treatment of it that I've ever come across. It is primarily a black and white book. It's sitting at about 220 pages. Hardcover. There are some color plates where they're showing the different archetypes characters can play. And it's $40 in stock here on the shelf at Immortals Inc. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Peace out.